So, the tactile system. So, this here is looking at the whole of our body from head to toe. Kids who've got problems with this will have problems from head to toe usually. Sometimes you'll just see it in the head, sometimes you'll see it in the toes and the fingers, like the periphery. Sometimes you'll see it over the whole body. So it's used to recognise texture, shape and the size of objects around us. It tells us if we're actively touching or passively being touched. So that's what I was talking before, like kids, if they are seeking it out, they're okay. If they're passively being touched, they're not okay. And it's really important for survival because it helps us distinguish between what is threatening and what is non-threatening. So for example, if you've got something creeping on your skin, that could be a spider. And if so, you want to get that off you as quickly as you can. And so that's why a lot of the kids we see with problems will actually have problems with the light touch and the tickly touch versus the deep touch. Sorry? Yes, the fruit flies are very annoying, aren't they? How's everybody going with them? So sensitive kids, they tend to, again, just put a note of what applies to your kid. Or yourself, because, often this stuff's genetic. Avoids bare feet or hates shoes. Reacts to unexpected touch. So that this can be aggressive or withdrawn, is that like the person you're talking about? They'll often back off when touched, but occasionally will actually need to touch. And sometimes it's more than occasionally. Sometimes it's constant touch, but freaks if somebody touches them. Reacts badly when being touched from behind. And this is a big one, because these kids, they're not processing their world properly. And if somebody comes and touches them where they can't actually see, it can cause a really big response. And we've known kids who've actually hit a teacher or who's come up behind them. And so it's one of the big strategies. If you've got a sensitive kid, make sure that you give them warning, avoid touching them, or if you do need to, come from the front, give them plenty of time to respond. They'll often avoid physical contact. They'll dislike being touched by other children, sometimes even in a friendly or affectionate way, just like people being near them. They can be really funny about their clothing, and so in winter they want to have their summer clothes on for a long, long, long time because they find it hard to make the transition from short sleeves to long sleeves. In winter, when they come into summer, they want to leave their winter clothes on because they're used to this now and they don't want to take it off. And I have had one of my Aspie boys just tell me very eloquently, long sleeves are really handy because if somebody hits you, let's hit a boy, if somebody hits you, it doesn't hurt as much. It protects you from the sun. And if you're in air conditioning, you're comfortable all year round. That's very eloquent about it. Just like standing in line. And so these kids can be really like either fidgety in line or cause trouble in line or constantly seek to be in the front or the back. They can get really, really distressed when tickled or teased. I had one dad who used to wake his daughter up every morning with tickles, and she was sensory defensive. And he was surprised that she'd yell at him every morning. So we just modified that a little. So that's the sensitive kids. Now, the other thing with sensitive kids is like they'll often hate things like sunscreen on, and you just can't get it on. My boy was like this, and I managed to get it on with the sunscreen song, which there's a dot over here and a dot over there, there's a dot on your ear and a dot on your chin, la 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 la. And we would just sing and put it on, and even now he hates sunscreen, he's 12. And every now and then he said, "Mum, can you sing that song?" It's very cute. You'll also find them hate having hats on, changing their shoes, different kinds of undies, and it becomes this real battleground. And the parents are just exhausted, the kids are exhausted, because something that should be so simple as getting dressed in the morning is not simple at all. And there's so much anxiety associated with it. Anxiety by the parents, anxiety by the kids, and so you can't just treat the sensory and not the anxiety, and you can't just treat the anxiety and not the sensory. So together, it takes a bit of time, you can do it. So kids who lack the appropriate sensitivity to touch. So these guys like to be messy and get their hands and bodies filthy dirty. They're just like, the more muck the better. They often like to touch everybody and everything. I had one boy who was, I think he was about 9, and he went into the school art room and painted his whole body and walls. They were not impressed. The same kid, we got him, he'd have cold spaghetti in the backyard, and like that was his biggest treat, to just get all over his body. These kids can often have slow, fine motor skills because they don't have really good discrimination, and so they just have to use their vision, and they're often so interested in touching things that they don't really want to use them for any kind of other purposes. And visually dependent means they just have to watch what they're doing all the time. So auditory system. So are there any questions on the tactile system? So key strategy for the tactile system is very similar to the vestibular, where you're just getting them to participate in the things that they don't like as best as possible. And so, for example, they hate finger painting. Will they paint with a brush, with a long brush, and have a cloth nearby to wipe their hands if they should accidentally get messy? And dot over here, dot over there, kind of things. And with the dressing, we're usually looking at desensitizing their system through deep touch pressure. So sometimes we can use what we call a special TheraPressure brush. Sometimes kids will not tolerate that, and we have to do it through whole body hugs, gentle movements, just getting presses in with songs and compressions where we can. So it's very, very dependent on what the child will tolerate, but you're just helping to gently expand their touch system and keep yourself as calm as possible, and ideally come alongside as a, I know this is hard, this is so hard for you, let's do it together, kind of thing, rather than, I don't know why you want to put your shoes on, we have to go. So allowing extra time, but not too much time, because you can have too much time. And I had one kid who, the more time she had, the worse it would actually get.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. The more time I think I'm preparing,
yeah,
the worse outcomes at the end.
Yeah. So you have to find the just right time. Usually I find having some fun together first is really valuable, where you're just playing and having fun and enjoying maybe some good music that helps everybody be calm in the background. And then you're in a good place, then you rush through this part, and I know you hate it, but we've got to put it on, come on, let's jump, and let's go. So, yeah, you really got to find the balance for your own family. But the touch system causes a lot of anxiety. So with the auditory,